All right, welcome. Let's get it rock and rolling. STR Q&A. Today we are talking listing descriptions. Does your profile pic actually matter? How occupancy and revenue, how they work in real life, and how they opposites when one goes up, one goes down, and vice versa. And then if we get to it, I'm going to keep it short. Photo order. I might do this on Friday. Friday at 1:00. I'll do a more in-depth training on some kind of advanced things that I've been seeing. I might hold off on the how to organize your photos to Friday. So stay tuned for the office hours, which happens every Friday at 1:00. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Drop your questions down below. I may be able to get to them, but let's go ahead and jump in. Listing descriptions. So this actually, when I say listing descriptions, I don't know why I'm out of focus. Come on, computer. It's been a long day. I know, like 4 hours of meetings, but hopefully this will solve it. I don't know what's going on. All right. Anyways, listing descriptions. So Samantha, hopefully you're jumping on. We got 3 people right now. If you're on the replay, I appreciate you asking this question. So in your opinion, is it better to have a highly detailed description and house rules? Lastly, Airbnb tends to side with guests if something isn't specifically mentioned. Hopefully it's everybody can read that. But great freaking question. Great question. This is not something that I really cover in depth. I have a little bit of an opinion on it, but it's not something like super major. I just kind of do it, and I assume that other hosts do it the same way, which is not the case. I went and looked around and found some listings. I should have saved them, honestly. But there are so many listing descriptions that are just like 3 sentences, and that's it. Like, that is it. Maybe I can bring up one of ours if I'm logged in. Actually, I don't think I'm logged in. But they're too short. So to answer your question, the short answer is how long to make your listing description. As long as it needs to be. Very not a clear answer, but you don't want to have like 3 sentences. That's not enough. You also don't want to have 15 paragraphs. There is a character limit that these places they do have. I don't know it offhand. It used to be like 1,500 or something. Hopefully this, I don't know what's going on with my camera. Hopefully I crisp up, but having it as long as possible. So I've put some kind of notes here. Once again, if you want the all of my notes from all of these and all the recordings, jump into our school community. I will put the link in the comments down below. So the main thing, before we kind of get to the listing title, I want to jump into the main thing. So the title or the description. The title is the most important thing. I just jam pack the title with amenities. It used to be where you have to have like a super marketable, like cute, charming, like all these descriptive words. Now I think the jam-packed amenity titles do well, a lot better than what those like old school, charming house in, with scenic view. Like I think everybody knows charming means old, right? But if you have like mountain views, 5 minutes from downtown, hot tub, king suite, a beach place, like 1 minute from the beach, those are very descriptive words, and just jam pack amenity with those. You can do away with like the super marketable stuff and just pack it with amenities like pool, hot tub, game room, king suite. Like this is my property right here. Almost the word for word. I've like named and branded my property The Retreat, but that's like the main description points. I want to highlight these main points because honestly, everybody has a kitchen, everybody has bedrooms, everybody's got a living room. But what are the unique amenities that other people do not have? Pool, hot tub, game room, king suite. King suites, some people just won't book properties that don't have a king suite in it. So increased hang time is a second point. what I mean by hang time is like, these algorithms track everything on every listing, right? Every little button click, mouse click, what I call hang time is like how long people are hanging on your listing. So if you have a super interesting listing and, plenty of photos, a super descriptive property listing description, they will spend more time on your listing. Therefore, I have no substantial evidence, but I know these algorithms are tracking every click, just like Google, Facebook, Instagram, like all these platforms are. If you can increase your hang time, get more people to stay on your listing longer, they're going to promote the listings that have more hang time. The more hang time you have, the more views you're going to get, the more conversions you're going to get, the more bookings you're going to get, the more revenue you're going to get. And in the end, the more revenue Airbnb is going to get, and Vrbo. So they're going to promote the listings that have the most, it's really the best properties, the best listings. Well, let me take that back. Some of the best properties do not have the best listings because they don't know how to market. So making sure your marketing is in line, making sure it's good, and making sure the title is the first thing. So increasing hang time. So the more descriptions you have, the more details you can provide, the more people are going to read. Well, guests don't really read, but that will definitely, if you only have 3 sentences, they're probably going to read them and then continue down the path and then go to the next 10 listings. So another big thing about the listing descriptions, when guests complain, so guests are going to complain about something one way or the other, you can point them in the direction of where it is on the listing and where it's public info. I had a recent guest where the property is shared. There was a front and a back. They were like, oh my God, they were there for like a month. 2 weeks in, they were like, I had no idea somebody was at the back house and somebody was living there. We're like, hey, look, we mentioned it twice in the listing, one in the description and then one in the share, like, are any of these amenities shared? So we listed it everywhere and pointed them in the right direction of these. So it covered our tail. Of course, Airbnb is like, hey, where is this disclosed? Yada, yada, yada. So it gives not only the guest, it covers your tail, but also shows the guest that like, hey, this was public info. I'm sorry that you didn't read this info, but it was there the whole time. All right. So protects you, shows Airbnb proof. And then I think the bigger one is like, when they inevitably give you a bad review, you have a lot better shot on getting that review removed down the road if you can prove you disclosed it. So kind of summary, more detail, the better. Obviously, you're not going to write a book. Airbnb won't let you. There's not enough characters. But I mean, Hemingway is a good app. ChatGPT is a good app. I like to make it a little less like robotic and more like descriptive on like, what feelings you can experience. If you want like the super marketing stuff, put it in the listing description, not in the title. This is amenities. The listing description is more like, enjoy your coffee overlooking the mountain view or the pool or sitting in the hot tub, like whatever it is. So, all right, listing descriptions, as long as you need them, but as short and concise as you can get them. I always think about it like if nobody's been to your property, like that's all that they have. They have the pictures in the listing description. All right, moving on. Once again, if you have questions, drop them down below on like anything Airbnb related, short-term rental related. All right, profile pic. This is actually this came up in a Facebook group the other day, and by one of the hosts. And I once again, I've been doing this without really realizing that. I think it's just like a duh. Like why would you do this versus this? So the question is like, do you have your personal profile, like your individual photo, or like your business logo? So personal profile, business logo. I think it's a no-brainer. Like put your personal picture there. Like put something under, you, your wife, your spouse, your family, like on the beach, whatever. Like it makes it more personable. If you're on a listing and everything else is the exact same, and then one has a business logo on it that has like, Jane's management company, Myrtle Beach, or like Jane, who, is like, um, uh, elderly woman. She looks nice. She's got a Mai Tai in her hand. She's sitting on the beach. Like, you just have that personal connection just by that like little photo at the bottom. Once again, no background. There's no stats on this, the Airbnb releases, but it's psychology and marketing. Connect with your guest any way possible. It could be, some people send video messages. Some people do a phone call every guest. Some people meet them in person and give them the key. This is just one kind of step along that way to make your property more personable. It's a super simple one. So making sure you've got the, I always vote personal. Even like our company one, we have my business partner's photo on there. If you ever seen a listing, it's him proposing to his wife. I was like, oh, dude, this is perfect. Great, let's do it. People like buying from people, and they go. I wrote this earlier. They go easier on you. So if you have any complaints, right? If you have enough guests, like something's going to go wrong. I always think like putting a face to a name, just picking up the phone and calling like, hey, I'm Caleb, I'm your host. Like, I saw this TV was broke. Like, our cleaners must have missed it. Like, what can I get you a new TV shipped tomorrow? Like, does that work? If you introduce yourself versus like, hey, this is my Tripify. Like, who's my Tripify? Like, what are you? Like, it puts a name, makes it a little more personable. All right. So profile pic. So this we'll 15 minutes in. We'll go ahead and rock with this number 3, and then we'll get rolling. If you guys don't have any questions, we're gonna be wrapping this thing up real quick. So another question I got this week, and man, I thought this is a really good question, but once again, I'm kind of blind to some of the things, so I wanted to kind of use this opportunity to train and give you guys some kind of free info here. So I had a student that not a student. He was curious to invest in Charlotte, and he had, hey, what's the average ADR in this neighborhood? What is what's the occupancy rate? I kept asking. I was like, hey, look, like this, like, he was very hung up on the ADR, and it was like, okay, at this ADR, can you get 85%? And I was like, well, I mean, those work in opposites. And I was like, holy crap! Like, I know this stuff, but he didn't know it. So I was like, okay, let me explain this to you. So I want to kind of dumb it down for everybody. Why does occupancy really matter, right? Occupancy does matter, but also ADR matters. Both of those combined equal your annual revenue, which is the holy grail. That is the most important number that you need to track, is your annual gross revenue. Without that, occupancy is crap. It's useless. If you only take ADR in the question, also crap, useless. Doesn't matter. If you price your property at $500 a night and everybody else is at $200 a night, every now and then you will get booked, but you will probably be the highest ADR in that for that listing, but probably the lowest occupancy, right? Or the opposite is like, as you bring down the ADR, you get more competitive, your occupancy goes up to a certain point, and then I would shoot for like 80% occupancy. Usually at 80% occupancy, you have a pretty solid average daily rate to where you make the most amount of money. Now, there are months where we're like 100% occupied. There are some months where we dip down to like 70% occupancy. But typically, like from a 6-month year perspective, if you can kind of hit that 80%, your ADR will take care of itself and you will make the most amount of revenue. So my point here is, don't just focus on one of those. Don't just focus on the ADR. I know a lot of hosts and investors that are like, but my property's worth $500 a night, like $500 a night. And it's like, I dig into the comps and I'm like, actually, like, this property is just as good, if not better, more amenities, and they are charging $350 a night. Like, you might get somebody to pull the trigger, but over and over again, guests are smart. There's so much info out there. Most people are going to find that 350 listing, pull that 350 9 times out of 10, and you're going to be stuck with an open $0 month, $0 weekend. So don't let that happen. Make sure you shoot for like 75% occupancy, and then whatever that ADR is, using that gross revenue. So I think a good question, a good kind of lead in that I didn't really think about is on AirDNA, the gross revenue number is usually like within 10% of an accurate number. This is, typically markets with enough comps and all that. Like if you're in a super, like a Michigan market, I got a buddy that's in Michigan. He's like, dude, AirDNA is useless. There are no comps. So this is most markets that have they actually have a score now of like high confidence versus low confidence. I really don't know what the heck is going on with my camera. I have to get a new one. All right. So AirDNA, pay attention to the gross revenue, the occupancy and ADR. Typically the ADR is way too high and the occupancy is way too low. So like, for example, if AirDNA says 300 ADR and 40% occupancy, typically you could probably get 200 ADR and 70% occupancy. And if you do the math, the revenue is going to be higher on a lower ADR and a higher occupancy. So hopefully I didn't lose you guys. I think this one is super valuable. Once again, I just know it and I take it for granted. So I wanted to share it here. If you have any additional questions, like this is, I want to make this helpful for you guys, for hosts that are just starting out or people that, maybe way ahead of where we're at. Like I can learn from people above me, people below me, people beside me, all that. So without further ado, we didn't have any questions, so appreciate it. We wrapped up in 19 minutes. I think that is actually a record. Next, so this Friday coming up, Friday at 1:00 office hours, we're gonna be going through the photo tour. What I mean by that is on Airbnb, what photos need to go first, which one need to go second, like how to organize everything. I've got a pretty dang good layout on what we do with all of our 40 properties.